We're going. Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. This is the Bowl special shows that we've been doing every day during bowl season. Today is Saturday, December 30th, and we're going to cover 6 bowls today. We covered 6 bowls yesterday, and I went 5-1 again yesterday. I'm 10-2 over the last 2 days. Drew Martin, what's your reaction to that?
Congrats, Pete, man. I need to start tailing you, bro.
Oh, thank you very much, Drew Martin. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, let's get right into it. We got a whole lot of crap to cover today. Of course, the Louisville game we covered in yesterday's show, and it was a foursome. All 4 of us went on Louisville minus 6.5. I also threw on the under on that one, and we expected that line to get bet up, which it did. Not to 7.5, but it did get bet up to 7, and so hopefully we'll all have a winner on that one. The first bowl starts very shortly. It is Iowa State against Memphis. This, of course, is an interesting matchup. Memphis has a big passing offense, but Iowa State has seen those kinds of passing offenses in the Big 12, not necessarily with a ton of success, but they have a lot of experience handling it. And of course, the big factor in this game is that as great as Memphis was ATS on the year, Iowa State, unreal. 10-1-1 against the spread overall on the year. I did bet this one. I took Iowa State at +4, and I also took a shot with the under when it was 66.5. It's now gotten bet up to 68, although now it's coming down a little bit. Yeah, no, it's still 68 at bookmaker. I'll make both of those official picks. I'll take the under at 68, actually 68.5 at UWager minus 110, and I did bet Iowa State at +4, but now that's headed down to a 3.5, and I will take +3.5 minus 110. It's just a judgment call. How will Iowa State be able to handle Memphis' big passing game? I think they should be good enough to be more likely than not to get a cover and to go under. Let's start with you, Drew Martin. What's your take on this game?
Well, I mean, Matt Campbell, hats off to him. One of the best coaching jobs in the country, in my opinion. First winning season since 2009 in Ames. You bring up the ATS record for Iowa State. Memphis 10-2 straight up, but only 7-5 ATS, so the market's not kind of a little bit more price intuited to them. Riley Ferguson, Tony Pollard, the wide receiver combination, quarterback combination, really, really dynamic, really good. However, Iowa State used to this all season long. It's pretty much what they've built for, to defend Big 12 passing offenses. And this is the stat that really caught me, Pete. Iowa State held all but one Big 12 offense at least 10 points under their season average. Their defense is really kind of made to stop this type of offense. They beat TCU. They went into Norman, beat Oklahoma. They beat Texas Tech. So I'm on the Cyclones +4. I guess the best number right now is only 3.5, Pete.
Yep. We're going to I took it at 4 myself, but we use up to the second number. So we're going to have to take 3.5 minus 110. I'm on that one as well. And again, I also made the under 68.5 minus 110, one of my official picks. Also, big man on campus, what's your take on this game? Do you think Iowa State can stop Memphis, or will Memphis pass all over Iowa State?
I definitely agree with Drew Martin. I think Iowa State could stop Memphis. I'm actually going to agree with you, though. I think the under is the better play here. I think Iowa State's going to make Memphis play their type of football game. Iowa State's going to keep the football on the ground with Montgomery, a really good running back. They do also have some weapons as well on the outer edges, but I think Memphis is going to be hamstring in this game. I think it's going to be a lot like the UCF game, the first UCF game. Really, they struggled to score. They couldn't move the ball. They're really a one-trick pony a lot of the time on offense. They are a lot of the times dreadful on defense, but I think they're going to have a spirited effort, if you will, a little bit today from Memphis. Maybe not play great defensively, but they'll be better, I think. I would say it's going to run their pace. I think it's going to be their type of football game. I think this game will stay in the 30s, 34, 30, something like that. It'll be tough, but I think this game will stay just under the total.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I bet this one when it was 66.5, and it went up to 68 or 68.5. Now it's coming down a little bit since that peak of about 68.5, but we're going to take the Memphis under 68.5 minus 110 UWager. All right, and Jimmy the Bag, what's your take on this game? I am taking, all right, so Drew's on, all right, so wait a second. Big man's on the under, Drew's on Iowa State +3.5, and I'm on both of those. Jimmy the Bag, what's your take on this game?
I am also on Iowa State +3.5. I think they have a defense that will be up for the challenges that Memphis creates. Their rush defense allowed just 134.3 yards a game. When they forced offenses into passing situations, they got all-conference safety, senior Kamari Cotton-Moya, second-team all-conference cornerback Brian Peavy. Iowa State's offense will have to put up some points to stay in this game. Tigers' defense is very bad. They allow an average of 33.4 points per game. I hear what Big Man's saying, that they can slow down Iowa State's offense, but they ranked 120th in total defense, allowing 476 yards a game. The break really helped this team. It was very important for them. Kyle Kemp battled injuries all year, really needed the break. Also, Mike Montgomery, he hurt himself against Kansas State. He says he's feeling great. He's good to go. I just think this is a really good spot. I like getting the points, and I am on the Iowa State Cyclones.
All right, sounds good. So we're all in agreement on this game, and I'm starting to think that that's actually kind of a good sign. Not necessarily a lock sign, but definitely a good sign. When we've all been in agreement generally on a bowl, we've generally been right. Okay, so once again, Drew Martin on Iowa State, Jimmy the Bag on Iowa State, that's +3.5, -110. Big Man on Campus on the under at 68.5, and I'm on both of those. Iowa State +3.5, under 68.5. That game goes off in about 10 minutes, so if you want to tail any of those picks, go for it. I think we broke that game down enough. Now let's move on to Penn State and Washington. This game starts at 4 o'clock Eastern time. These two teams have remarkably similar ATS profiles on the year, right? Both were 10-2 straight up. Both were slightly good bets on the year, and both stumbled a little bit ATS-wise until their final game of the regular season, where they both got big covers. Now, there's a side here that I think I'm liking. First, I want to hear what you guys have to say about it, but I think I'm liking a side here, and I'll keep that a surprise until the end, just in case you all disagree with me. Big Man on Campus, what are you liking in Washington, Penn State?
I'm going to go with the Nittany Lions here. I just think they're a slightly better football team, and I'm just frankly not interested in the Pac-12 in these bowl games. They've been dreadful. I think they've been exploited a bit as a conference, and I don't see any difference today. Washington's a good team. I like Browning. I like their defense, but we have to remember the one concern I have here, Barkley shouldn't have a big problem against Washington this game. When they face good rushers, they've struggled. I mean, Love ran all over Washington earlier this year, a game that he had 3 touchdowns in. And I think this game's going to come down to quarterback play, some of the skill position players. I like what Penn State has. Deshaun Hamilton, Mike Gesicki. I like Masorley over Browning slightly. And Penn State's no spring chicken again on defense either. They were very good against the run all year. I think this game will be close. I don't think the Washington side's a bad player or anything. I just like Penn State. I think they're the better football team. I think they're pretty well coached. I'm not a huge Franklin fan, but I think in this kind of game, he'll be fine. The Moorhead concern is there. Moorhead left to go to Mississippi State, but the kid coming in, he's called plays before. I don't think it's that much of a drop-off here. I just think Penn State's a slightly better team. I can get 2.5 still at a couple books. I'm going to go with Penn State here, laying the 2.5. I think they beat Washington by 7 to 10 points. Pac-12 has been embarrassing.
Yeah, the line is headed up. It's 3 at most places, but Heritage has 2.5 -125, and Pinnacle has 2.5 -118. So Big Man on Campus going to make Penn State -2.5 -118. His official pick here. Drew Martin, do you agree with Big Man on Campus's take here?
You know, I first look at this and just the coaching. Chris Peterson going against him is always tough. James Franklin, you know, he may be an asshole kicking the field goal up 50+ points against Georgia State, but ultimately I think he's a pretty good coach. So yes, I agree with Big Man on Campus. I think it's pretty simple. You know, Penn State's going to have to look out for Pettis on special teams, make sure he doesn't beat him on long returns. The guy is really good as far as a return man. But I agree with BMOC that I have no interest betting these Pac-12 teams. And I'll tell you the truth, Pete, I kind of have like a man crush on the Pac-12. Those late night games, I love watching them. But when they go to play the Big Ten, which is, you know, it's a strong conference. These guys, you know, top to bottom, they're pretty tough teams. And we just saw it last night with Ohio State taking it to USC. I could see something similar. Up front, Penn State winning this battle. I think the talent that they have at the offensive skill positions is good. It's something to, and I don't think the market's pricing it correctly. So I think there's some value here on the Nittany Lions. So I'm taking them here.
All right, Drew Martin also on Penn State, -2.5, -118. Let's go to you, Jimmy the Bag. Drew Martin, Big Man on Campus, agreeing on Penn State, -2.5, -118. What's your take on this one, Jim?
Well, I'm extremely concerned about these Pac-12 teams. Extremely concerned that Big Man and Drew are both on Penn State. But I think the Huskies can keep it close. You mentioned Dante Pettis. They're going to have to kick away from him all game long. I love what Myles Gaskin can do. I think he wants this opportunity to go up against Saquon. I think he's going to excel in this game today. And BMOC's right. I mean, Huskies defense ranks number 1 nationally against the run, but Love hurt them. And they didn't go up against a lot of great running backs. They held opponents to just 2.6 yards a carry. They have that 6'5", 340-pounder Vita Vea, who will probably be a first-round pick next year. Both teams are losing their offensive coordinators, which is a strange situation. But I love what Chris Peterson has done up there. And I'm going to take the points, and I'm going to take the Huskies.
All right, the best line right now is +3 -105 at Intertops. Thanks so much for Intertops for providing the best line for Jimmy the Bag on Washington. +3 -105 going head-to-head with Big Man on Campus and Drew Martin on Penn State. And I was looking at this game. I thought I was seeing a pretty big edge here. Chris Peterson, just an awesome coach. I hate betting against him, but I was thinking Penn State just has too much for Washington. I was thinking Penn State is a great play here. Again, even if they can contain Barkley, which I'm absolutely not convinced that they can, considering how much Bryce Love gashed them. I just think there's too much in terms of talent on the field for Washington to hang with a full game. Again, I hate betting against Peterson. In general, he's a coach who gets more out of his players and more out of his roster than they look like they have on paper. But I'm going to be taking Penn State here, -2.5, agreeing with Drew Martin and Big Man on Campus, going head-to-head with Jimmy the Bag. Jimmy the Bag, the last time this happened, it also involved a Pac-12 team. It was the Ohio State USC game. Big Man Drew and I all took Ohio State. That was also a game where the line during our video moved in our favor. You took the Pac-12 team, and that one, of course, was a big casher in our favor. Would you like to, this is your last chance, Jimmy the Bag, to switch your pick here, or are you going to go with Washington +3?
I'm excited about Jake Browning in this situation. I'm excited about Myles Gaskin in this situation. Browning has 68.8% completion rate. I just think that there are some dangerous players on this Huskies team where, we mentioned Dante Pettis. I mean, this team can be getting outplayed in certain spots, and Dante Pettis can change it around very quickly. I'm excited about this game. I'm excited about the Huskies, and I'm not going to let anybody take that away from me.
All right, Jimmy the Bag sticking to his guns. So, once again, Jimmy the Bag picking a Pac-12 team going head-to-head with Big Man, Drew Martin, and I. We are all on Penn State -2.5, -118, and Jimmy the Bag gets Washington at +3, -105, courtesy of Intertops. All right, great breakdown, guys. Now let's move on to another interesting game, right? Wisconsin against Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida. I guess the big question here is, is Miami going to turn things around at all from the abominable performances we saw from them, in the last 2 games of their season? They got blasted by Clemson, which is excusable, but they also got blasted by Pittsburgh, which is not so excusable. And what's even more troubling is that Pittsburgh plays kind of similarly to Wisconsin. On the other hand, Miami is at home, and they're getting a healthy amount of points here. It's now 6 market-wide. Total is right about where you would expect it, 45. It was down to 44.5 last night, now back up to 45. I guess this is all about matchups and which weaknesses will be able to be corrected and which weaknesses will carry over into this bowl game. Let's go to you. Start with you, Big Man on Campus. What's your take on this one? You think Miami's going to fix their problems that we saw from them in their last 2 games in the regular season?
No, I don't. I don't think they do. I think this is one of my favorite bowl plays, honestly. I like Wisconsin a lot in this game. I think they're the best play. I think they're going to hammer Miami. Miami's been a great team, and I've lauded this group all year. I was a big Miami guy the whole season, but now you're kind of past all that. You didn't get into the Final Four. You weren't undefeated. And now you come in and face a Wisconsin team that is the best defensive team in the country, probably other than Clemson. They are absolutely fantastic. They just don't let you gain any yards. I mean, they're just – and you look at Miami. I mean, Malik Rozier all year has struggled to complete passes. I mean, 55% completion percentage. They don't have much at running back right now. Their tight ends out. Their top receivers out. And defensively, I think they're pretty average. I know they turn the ball over, and they've been in games because of that turnover chain and everything. But Wisconsin protects the football. They keep the ball on the ground, and they got that power run game that I think is going to pose a lot of problems. The only key that Miami has here is it is in Miami. That's kind of a big thing here. But this Miami team is a little different than the team that we saw a little earlier in the year. They're a team that I just don't think is a good matchup against Wisconsin. As long as Hornibrook, who he can make mistakes, but I think he's better than people think. I think as long as he kind of keeps them in the game, doesn't screw anything up, they're very well coached. I think they're going to go on the road. I think they're going to get a 24-10 type of win. I think this game's really similar to the USC game last night. I don't think they're going to have a lot of success offensively. Miami, and I think they're going to be really hamstrung trying to move the ball here.
Yeah, interesting breakdown. You kind of that's kind of how I was feeling, and you touched on my play, which might be I think this might be my play, wind up being my play. Now that it's up to 45, I think I'm leaning on the under here. We're very likely going to see a low-scoring game, I think, of course. And yeah, you said that the only advantage Miami has is that they're at home. Also, the other advantage from a betting perspective is they're getting a lot of points, right? 6.5. There are no 7s available, but I mean, it's just a lot of points to be giving a team that is at home and does have some speed. I mean, yes, Wisconsin is a very disciplined team, but they're not a juggernaut offensively, so it's a little hard for a team like Wisconsin to create some separation. But I totally understand where you're coming from. Big man on campus. I was when I first saw this game, I was like, I'm probably going to be taking Miami here. And then the more I researched it, the more I thought, man, Miami is just very unreliable. Too many holes. So that's going to be your official pick here, big man on campus, just Wisconsin minus the points?
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point. We're definitely not getting the best number. I mean, we could have got 5 last night. But yeah, I still think Wisconsin, I mean, 33 points a game is pretty impressive. And Peter, one other thing they do, I mean, they keep the ball for a long time. I mean, they're on the ground, these long drives, just kind of bashing you in the head, running the ball. So I think that will help them here as well. Try to limit the possessions to Miami as well. Yes, official pick. I like Wisconsin.
All right, Wisconsin is minus 6.5 across the board, market wide, minus 110. I'm leaning under. That's probably going to be my pick, but I'll hold off until I hear what Drew and Jimmy the Bag have to say about this one. Jimmy the Bag, what do you think? Can Miami fix their problems that we saw from them in the last 2 weeks of the regular season? Big man on campus with a resounding no to that question.
Oh, I'm completely with Big Man here. Wisconsin is in a great situation. Rozier did not look good those last 2 games. Threw 110 yards, 2 picks against Clemson. In those last 2 games, he averaged just 223 yards on offense as a team, just 74.5 on the ground. His best 2 receivers, Amon Richards and tight end Christopher Herndon, are each out with knee surgeries. This is a very, very tough spot for Miami. Yeah, they're at home, but this Badgers defense is very good. Allowing just 253.2 yards a game, 2nd in rushing defense, 3rd in scoring defense. And I know Miami has a turnover chain, but Wisconsin created 26 turnovers of their own. 6 players are in 1st or 2nd Big Ten honors, 1st or 2nd team Big Ten honors. I just think this is a great spot. I think this is the easiest spot of the card for sure.
Easiest.
I'm on the Badgers.
Okay, easiest spot on the card, says Jimmy the Bag, with Big Man on campus, Wisconsin, minus 6.5, minus 110. Let's go to you, Drew Martin. Drew Martin, I know you look at these matchups very closely. Obviously, a brutal offensive line here for Wisconsin. But, then again, if, Miami has speed, and if Rozier can somehow, figure out a way to be the good version of himself, then Miami at home catching a bunch of points in what is expected to be a low-scoring game might be the way to go. Or do you agree with Big Man and Jimmy the Bag? Drew Martin.
Now, this is an interesting one, Pete. Mark Richt, the ACC Coach of the Year, I like his bowl record. Granted, Paul Chryst got Big Ten Coach of the Year. I'd still give the edge to Mark Richt. He had a solid bowl performance. And, not very often you get a 2-game losing streak and end up in the Orange Bowl. And not to mention, it's 70 degrees, should be perfect weather this time of year in South Florida, a home game. It should be a wild atmosphere favoring the Canes. I know the Big Ten kind of fan bases travel well, but it still should be an advantage for Miami. I think Big Man and Jimmy bring up some great points, mostly in the injury aspect and also Miami's quarterback position not really excelling throughout the year. But however, what about that November 11th matchup against Notre Dame in Miami? That's kind of the profile that I could put up against Wisconsin's front, especially offensively. I don't think their offensive line is any better than Notre Dame's. And Miami beat them, what was it, 40-7, 40-8,
Yeah.
something like that? So Big Man and Jimmy, I mean, are you guys factoring that game in?
Yeah, Big Man on campus. Does the Notre Dame game scare you at all in your analysis of this one?
Not really, no.
There you go. Big Man salty dismissing that point very, very easily and quickly. Jimmy the Bag, does the Notre Dame game scare you in your analysis and your pick on this game?
It does scare me a little bit, but this Miami team that we saw the last 2 weeks is a sign of a team not improving as the season went on. When they played against these tough teams at the end of the year, I mean, they lost badly. Rozier looked bad, and he needs these guys. He needs Richards. He needs Herndon. This, as you talked about, the Badgers' offensive line is great, but they got players all over that. Great tight end in Fumagalli. Jonathan Taylor, 6th in Heisman voting, rushed for 1,847 yards. Needs just 79 to break Adrian Peterson's record. He did lose 5 fumbles. Even if there's a couple turnovers, I mean, we watched all year Wisconsin's quarterback throw picks. He's had a month to think about. All he has to do is control the pace of the game and not make mistakes, and let the running back take care of business. I just think this is a really nice spot. I think Miami is floundering at this point in the year. I try to take teams that seem to be improving as the season goes on, and Miami is not doing that.
All right. Well, I'm kind of agreeing with all of you guys. I think that it's just too hard to predict what we're going to see from Miami. I could see Miami winning outright. I could see Miami losing 38-3. So I think my pick is going to be I'm going to stick with the under at 45 minus 107. That's the current line at Pinnacle. We'll see how Miami adapts. It's very likely, I think, to be a low-scoring game. So I'm going to take a shot with the low total, even though we have seen a lot of these bowl games with totals in the 40s going over. So I'm on the under 45 minus 107. Jimmy the Bag and Big Man on campus both like Wisconsin minus 6.5, minus 110. And Drew Martin, what is your official pick on this game?
I'm going to go Miami plus the points, Pete.
Head to head. All right, let's do a little bit of line shopping for you here. It is 6.5. Well, let's give you the best odds. I am seeing minus 101 at Pinnacle. So Pinnacle obviously has a slight lean at 6.5 to Wisconsin, and the Miami line is plus 6.5, minus 101 currently at Pinnacle. All right, now let's move on to the bowls for Monday, January 1st. We're going to cover the 3 bowls for Monday, January 1st right now, except, of course, for the college football playoffs, which we'll do in a separate video. The first one on Monday is and again, just to review all the Bulls picks that we have for today. Jim took Iowa State plus 3.5, Washington plus 3, and Wisconsin minus 6.5. Big Man on campus took the under 68.5 in the Memphis game, Penn State minus 2.5, and Wisconsin minus 6.5. Drew Martin took Iowa State plus 3.5, Penn State minus 2.5, and Miami plus 6.5. And I took Iowa State plus 3.5 and the under 68.5 in that one. Penn State minus 2.5 and Miami under 45 minus 107. All right, so on Monday, first bowl game is South Carolina, Michigan. And this one, to my eye, is the toughest bowl for me to call out of the 6 bowls that we're going to cover in this video. Obviously, Michigan ended the year with 2 straight-up losses, so you got to figure they're going to want to come out here and make some kind of statement, or maybe not. Maybe they just want to get this season over with, and they're disappointed with the 2 losses. And then on the other hand, they're giving a ton of points here to South Carolina, who is a decent SEC team, right? They don't have an elite SEC defense, but they have a decent SEC defense. They've got a new offensive play caller who's going to be maybe changing things up offensively for them. So I'm not sure what I think about it. I do have one lean that I'm going to keep in my head for now, and then maybe give as an official pick after I hear what you guys have to say about this. This is a really tough one. Drew Martin, let's start with you. Michigan, South Carolina. Do you have any picks on this one? Which way are you looking here?
Pete, in the Outback Bowl in Tampa, I don't know what it is about the date and the location of this. Seems like it's always raining for this bowl game. It looks like rain and wind might be an issue here. It looks like possibly 15-mile-an-hour winds and rain. But breaking down this matchup just on the field, coaching-wise, I actually wouldn't give a huge advantage to Jim Harbaugh. I know the mainstream media probably would, but Will Muschamp, I think defensively, he's as good as there gets out there. 8-4 for South Carolina, 7-4 ATS. I don't think that's anything to shake your head out. Granted, they were in the SEC East. Nonetheless, this team did play well, play above expectations, play above where the market priced them all year long. Offensively, they suck, but offensively, Michigan sucks too. So I think both defenses kind of, should definitely have the upper hand on the opposing offense. I wanted to get there with Michigan. I just think talent-wise and backing the Big Ten in bowl games has been profitable. However, Pete, this 7.5, that extra hook on the 7, that scares me a lot. I don't think you're getting a great number here with the Wolverines. So that pushes me towards the total. And because all the defenses, are so good in this game, and I know it's a low 40s total. However, I just don't see a lot of points, so I'm going with the under, Pete.
Wow, really? Okay, well, Drew Martin, you've had a pretty good read on these bowl games with totals in the 40s, usually going with the overs. Here you're going to take the under. It is a split line, 42, 42.5, or 43. Pinnacle right now has 43 minus 107. See, I was thinking maybe about a sneaky shot with the over here. Again, thinking that Michigan will want to make a little bit of a statement, in this game. And again, you're not going to have to run up the score that much at all to get a game over 43. And that South Carolina, with the new offensive coordinator, might open things up a little bit. I know that the weapons that both these teams have on offense are suspect. But again, it's a very low total. My lean on this one was actually to the over, Drew Martin. You don't think that we might expect the unexpected as far as scoring and pace is concerned here?
Pete, I mean, in the first two games we talked about, those are games, I personally have bets on. This game, I don't have a bet yet. I mean, if you saw an article where maybe the new offensive coordinator is pushing the tempo, which I did not, that would be something that changed my opinion. Did you read something like that in bowl practice?
I know. I saw a couple articles where he was like, maybe he'll make some changes. You know what I mean? So it's like, I saw a bunch of articles where it's like, well, the offense is going to be mostly the same, but maybe with some changes, maybe with some new wrinkles. So a lot of, sort of like uncertainty. And I was like, it was enough to pique my interest, but not enough to make me say like, all right, this is definitely the play.
Yeah, man. I mean, just in terms of putting a pick out, I'm going to go with the under. I just didn't see enough to see pace would be kind of improved. And also, laying 7 in the hook with Michigan, I'm not interested in. So I'm going to go with the under.
All right, under 43 minus 107 is the current best line on the under. This is a tough one. Jimmy the Bag, let's go to you. I'm still not sure what I'm going to make with my official pick here, although I am leaning over. And as far as the side is concerned, I don't really want to pick against Michigan here. But as Drew said, I don't want to lay 7.5 here. What's your take on this tough bowl, Jimmy the Bag?
I found this very difficult game. I found this the toughest bowl game of at least the ones we've gone over so far. I am also on the under in this game. Higdon struggled late in the season, ran for only 125 yards over the final 3 games. This Wolverines offense is bad. The 101 ranked total offense. Their offensive line is weak. Michigan's defense has really impressed me. I didn't expect them to. 7 freshmen or sophomores starting on defense. 14th in the nation, allowing just 18.3 points per game. Clearly an improving group. But in saying all that, I think the Gamecocks can play with these guys. I don't think obviously Bentley regressed this year, which was surprising. 16 TDs and 11 picks. The Gamecocks don't have playmakers on offense, so it was a much more difficult season for him. Deebo Samuel got hurt at the beginning of the year, and he had nobody to go to. I just think this is going to be a tough grind them out game. I think the under is the play, and that's what I'm hammering.
All right, Drew Martin and Jimmy the Bag, both on the under 43 minus 107. Yeah, I mean, clearly these offenses are both not explosive, to put it mildly, and probably Michigan's defensive line is the strongest unit on the field. I don't know about that one. I think I'm going to go head-to-head with you guys. I think I'm going to take the over, which can be found. You can have a 42 right now. Heritage has 42. Big man on campus. A tough bowl. All 3 of us agree that this is a tough bowl. Did you find this tough, or do you think it's that you're seeing an edge that you're kind of liking here?
I definitely see the way that you would think it's tough. It isn't the easiest bowl game in the world, but when you kind of look at the numbers, I have a hard time believing why Michigan is over a touchdown favorite in this game. I don't get it. I mean, Michigan has had a good year defensively, as we know, actually a very good year, but so is South Carolina. I don't know that I see, especially in the numbers, I don't see the 7-point difference here. They have possibly the most overrated coach in football in Jim Harbaugh, a guy that never seemingly wins any big game and has not developed a quarterback in his tenure at Michigan. And you have a South Carolina team that, look, I mean, Jake Bentley, I'd take him over anything Michigan has right now, frankly. And I think defensively, they're going to stay in this game. They're 6-1 as an underdog this year. They're 5-0 straight up on the road this year. And I just don't see 7 points difference here. Why is Michigan a 7.5-point favorite? What have they done to warrant that? Jimmy's right. Their offense sucks.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you, and I was thinking about taking South Carolina as well at +7.5. I just didn't want to take two picks on this game, that I don't feel confident about at all, that I'm probably not going to be betting. And Michigan's quarterback missed the Ohio State game with a concussion. Now he's coming back. How sharp will he be? Drew Martin, does the line make sense to you, or do you think that maybe we're just ignoring and not seeing a clear, obvious value here with South Carolina getting this many points?
I think Big Man brings up some great points, and I agree with you, Pete. Like, I lean that way as far as taking the points, but I just don't feel confident in putting two bets on this game. Right. And Big Man, to just make the argument for the other side, it is the Big Ten versus the SEC East, so that could be the argument for Michigan.
I mean, I think the line is where it is because on the one hand, you have Michigan, which is still seen as an elite program with a coach with Harbaugh who's seen as elite. And then South Carolina, who's an SEC team that just, doesn't get any of the press that Georgia and Alabama and all those teams get. So you've got to kind of see South Carolina as kind of a mid-range team, which really they're not. Is that your point, Big Man?
Yeah, I think we overrated the Big Ten a bit. I mean, they do have, Ohio State, Michigan State was good. But everyone else was just pretty average, and Michigan is lumped in that average group. Mm-hmm. Jim Harbaugh is not just looked at as elite; he's like adored as a Michigan fan. If you're a Michigan fan, and I just don't get it. I mean, he's average so far at Michigan. He has literally the same record as Brady Hoke had at Michigan. I mean, Brady Hoke is a bad coach. He has not developed a quarterback. His recruiting tactics are extremely questionable. He's doing things that are looked down upon in the business ethically, and he's a nut job. He cost them games with his behavior on the field. I don't see 7.5 points different between these two teams. And quite frankly, in big games, he shits on his hat. I mean, It's the truth. He can't beat any big high-level team, and he's 1-1 as a bowl coach at Michigan in 3 years. He hasn't won the big game most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, Michigan's offensive line has struggled with pass protection all year. Maybe there's a lot of reasons to really be liking South Carolina here. Big Man, is your official play here going to be South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
All right, +7.5, and Heritage does have -110, so we can give you that one. South Carolina +7.5, -110. Jimmy the Bag and Drew Martin on the under 43, -107. I'm leaning to the over 42, -110. And Big Man on Campus has just made South Carolina +7.5, -110. His official pick. Big Man, just very quickly, if you had to agree with the lean on the under or the over, which would you agree with?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not looking overs in these two games. But I will say this, Peter. I mean, on earth, how do you bet? And I'm not knocking these guys' picks because I like the under, but it's been hard betting totals in the 40s under in these bowl games. I mean, just weird things have happened. You throw out the random plays that I'm sure Jim will try to pull off and be good. Maybe a block punt will hurt you. It's a tough one, but on paper it looks like a 21-13 type of game or 2016 or something. I'm not betting over, but I could see it going over just because it's been such a weird bowl season.
All right, well, I'm not going to bet this one, but I will take the over. I'll go head-to-head with Drew Martin and Jimmy the Bag. I'm going to get over 42, -110. That's the current line at Heritage, and, I'm a half-inch away from going out with Big Man on South Carolina, plus the points as well, but just the game just makes me nervous. I'm probably not going to be betting it, but I will make my official pick here on the over. So, Jimmy the Bag and Drew Martin taking under 43, -107. I'm going head-to-head with them on the over 42, -110. 110. And Big Men on Campus taking South Carolina plus 7.5, minus 110. Now let's move on to UCF and Auburn. And of course, from a handicapping perspective, this is one of these bowls that's very interesting from a handicapping perspective. But, uncertainty here if you want to put your money where your mouth is. The question is just South Florida, undefeated, awesome, but now they go up against a truly elite team here. How will they match up against Auburn? Will Auburn's defense just stifle Central Florida, or will Central Florida be able to keep up with them and maybe be a good bet? They are getting a ton of points here, 9.5 or 10. Let me see what the line is right now. 9.5 or 10, and even some 10.5s available. So it's a split line right now. Anyone who wants Auburn can get 9.5 at UWager. Anyone who wants UCF can get 10.5 at Heritage. Jimmy the Bag, what do you like here?
I would also, when we're done this game, I would like to add a one play on a game we've already discussed. I really like Auburn here. I think, Central Florida, great story. Scott Frost did a great job. Nation's top scoring team. Adrian Killens is a good running back, but now they're playing the big boys. And this Tigers team is really good. 9th ranked defense in the nation. They've not allowed more than 28 points in the game. Now, I know the Knights have not scored less than 31, but when the Tigers beat Georgia earlier in the year, it just showed what kind of team they are. And Kerryon Johnson was affected by a shoulder injury. This break really helped him. He's healthy. He's good to go. He's a beast. Jarrett Stidham had a great season. 2,827 yards, 7 TDs, just 4 picks, 66.7 completion rate. And he did that against some of the best defense in the nation. He was going up against the best teams in the nation. And UCF's defense is extremely weak. We just watched them allow 97 points combined to Memphis and USF. I really think that this wonderful story is going to come to a crashing halt, and they're going to get beaten up by these Auburn Tigers. And I, for some reason, get joy when these teams, all with so much hope, and they've been inspiring all these small schools, just get shit on by a big, tough school. And so I think I'm going to watch this game. I'm going to be laughing a lot. I'll be drinking heavy, and I'm going to enjoy watching Auburn just destroy these guys.
Now, I love it. I love it in any area of life, basically, when there's an underdog who's like, I can do it, and then they get crushed, and you're just like laughing your ass off at them. Drew Martin, what do you think? Is UCF going to get crushed here? They've kind of overachieved with taking a small guys who are very, very speedy, and for their conference, for the kinds of games they play, that is very effective. But now going up against Auburn, it's a different deal. And of course, another factor is that UCF's coach, Scott Frost, who has built these programs and built Central Florida into such a great program, is leaving. He is going to be coaching this game, but he's leaving for Nebraska after this year, so that's another factor to take into consideration. What's your take, Drew Martin? Is Central Florida overmatched here?
This is an interesting one. I do think talent-wise they are overmatched. However, Pete, I'll tell you, motivation-wise, UCF's in it. And even though the coach is leaving, this is actually one that I think is kind of respected by the players. He's going back to his alma mater where he played quarterback. I think the players can actually look him in the eye and say, you know what, I understand what you're doing, and still play hard for UCF. Where did the markets price these two teams at? I know Auburn played against good teams. However, where did they get priced at? They went 5-6 ATS. UCF went 7-3 ATS. You can grab 10 points. I think motivation is on your side. I've been watching Gus Malzahn, literally since tape when he was the coach in high school in Arkansas. His bowl record's only 1-3. I've seen Auburn show up for bowl games and just not be interested. You got to remember, this was a program hoping to play in this stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, for the national championship. Now they're playing an AAC team. And pretty much, what does this bowl game mean in the end? I don't know, guys. I think motivation, I would put the 10 points with UCF in my pocket. I would go with the Knights. And also, you're talking about the AAC. This isn't the Sun Belt, man. This is a pretty good conference. So they've been going up against foes. When they played the Marylands of the world, they took it to them. I know that's not exactly Auburn, but still, they won every game on their schedule. I'm going to go UCF plus 10.
Wow. Well, we're actually going to give you 10.5. Again, it is a split line,
Thank
and
you.
Heritage right now does have 10.5. We use the full juice lines that Heritage offers. So, Drew, man, that of course is a key number, as we've seen many times already in this bowl season. So, Drew Martin's going to take UCF. Plus 10.5, minus 110. That is the current line at Heritage. Jimmy the Bag on Auburn, minus 9.5, minus 115. That is the line at UWager. My lean on this game is actually going to be to the under. I do think that UCF is going to have some more trouble, scoring against Auburn's defense than anything that they've seen this year. It's a high total. I'm going to take the under on this one. I'm going to stay off the side, and I think that both of your points are absolutely right. I'm definitely concerned about Auburn's motivation here, and I think that the motivational edge does reside with UCF. The talent edge resides with Auburn. The uncertainty makes me nervous about taking a side here, so I'll throw that one on right now before we go to Big Man on Campus. I'll take the under. The best line right now, 67.5. It's another one, split line. 66.5, 67, and 67.5 are all available market wide, and I will take the Pinnacle line under 67.5, minus 110. All right, Big Man on Campus. A lot of disagreement in this bowl game. Jimmy the Bag and Drew Martin going head-to-head on the side. I'm leaving the side completely alone. I'm taking the under 67.5. What are you going to do here, Big Man?
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Drew Martin's on UCF. He's been a fanboy of that team all year, so that doesn't surprise me.
And they've been making money, Big Man.
Frankly.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy, and I do want to discuss your comments on the teams that they played. You're right. You play the teams in your schedule, but I'm not sure I see an Auburn on this schedule defensively. I mean, we can agree that the AAC is a good conference, but defense is questionable a lot of the weeks in that conference. I mean, SMU is a peewee team on defense. I mean, Eastern Carolina. I mean, come on. UC or Connecticut, just dreadful stuff. And then you have this stupid kid, Adrian Killins Jr., who decides that not only are we a 10-point underdog, not only are we playing Auburn, not only are we talking out of our ass, but we're going to actually call out Auburn before the football game and try to be, when does that ever work? First of all, the great Frank Lucas once said, "The loudest one in the room is always the weakest one in the room." And I think that one's going to provide today. And by the way, Adrian Killins, stay in your fucking lane. All right. First of all, you've had 300-yard rushing games against Memphis, Navy, and SMU. Okay, settle the fuck down. This wouldn't surprise me if he has 20 carries for 44 yards. Play a real team and then start talking.
I mean, do you think Auburn really cares about what he says, though?
No, and that's why they didn't respond. That's what good teams do.
But do you think it's a motivational factor for them?
Of course I do. I think for them, it's silence. It's like when you get involved with someone. If someone talks about how they're going to come beat you up,
right?
You should never worry about it. Just go beat someone up. Don't worry about talking about it. Just go shove an ice pick in their neck. That's all that matters. Rude awakening time. I agree with Jimmy totally. I liken UCF's position here to a high school senior. I mean, high school senior year is so fun. I mean, you don't really do much. You don't really have any worries. Graduation comes. It's so fun. You're with your team. You won a big game, or you follow your friends, and then the real world comes. In mid-June, you got to face the real world and say to yourself, "What am I doing now?" And that's UCF's position here. And I'm interested that you mentioned that UCF is all in for their coach. Yeah, I would be so interested in a coach that wasn't in my corner. He'd rather go make more money at another conference. Go away, Scott Frost. I mean, honestly, you've shown we've shown the door. You've obviously picked the door you want to go out. I hate this whole "I'm going to come back and coach the troops one more time" kind of thing. They had their win in the AAC title. It's going to end rudely here for them against Big Bet Auburn. And Drew, I'm concerned about your fandom for Auburn. You've been negative about this group all year. When are you going to root for your boys? This is your alma mater here.
But, I mean, to Big Man on Campus, are you concerned about Auburn? I mean, this is a pretty down motivational spot for everything you said. I completely agree with. My concern, the reason I'm staying off the side is just, because of the line. Auburn's a double-digit favorite here, and it's got to be, Auburn has still got to be more disappointed with this bowl assignment than they care about making a statement against UCF. Or would you not agree with that?
I mean, it's still a fairly good bowl. I mean, the Peach Bowl it's a New Year's bowl.
But
I mean,
relative
it's not
to
like
what they
playing,
wanted.
Right. I mean, but again, then you should have beat Georgia. I mean, that was they luckily, that's the good thing about bowl games like this. It's a month later. And again, that's a good point, but I think the motivation is coming back with these comments that these kids make, these kids on these teams that think they want to be the big man on campus and go out and make those comments and try to have a big game. That's fodder for the other team, the better football team. I agree. I mean, is it the best position for them? No, but it's just a step below, Peter. I mean, it's not like they're in the Cure Bowl or the Gasparilla Bowl. I mean, this is a pretty good bowl. It's a bowl with a lot of camaraderie. It's a bowl to be in. And you get plenty of Chick-fil-A. So, I think that's
it's a good bowl, but not relative to what they wanted.
Sure.
And I'm just looking at this team, I'm thinking, like, if you're a team that beats Alabama in the regular season, do you really have anything to prove to yourself going up against Central Florida in a bowl game?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely make the points, and that's the one concern you have here. But again, it was a month later. They didn't play well against Georgia. It's just the truth of the matter. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I mean, that's why there should be 8 teams in the playoff, not 4. But we could talk about that at another point.
Right.
I still think there's more things to like here about Auburn than meets the eye.
All right. Well, Jimmy the Bag and Drew Martin and a big man on campus both in agreement here. Auburn minus 9.5. I'm just going to take the under 67.5 minus 107. Drew Martin, you are on UCF plus 10.5. After all you've heard, big man breaking it down, me asking him some follow-up questions, which I think I did quite well. Are you still going to stick with UCF plus 10.5?
Yeah, I'm still going to stick with them. I think the back door could be open. I think McKenzie Milton, can make enough plays with his feet to keep it close. And I tend to like the motivation angle more in bowl games than I do the talent level. So I'm going to stick with the Knights.
Right, and big man, you like the talent. You do think that just that Auburn coming off a loss, they will still have something to prove here, and that is actually a good point, Drew Martin. If Auburn wasn't coming off a loss, maybe it'd be a little bit different, but they are coming off a loss, so they probably that is a boost for their motivation here, right? Drew?
Right, and it is a.
Go ahead, big man.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, like I said, it is also a month later, and it is off a loss. It's not like they were, if you look at let's say they were in a position where they were supposed to be in the Final Four and they got left out or something. Maybe I would be a little bit more. But again, this is a bowl on New Year's. This is still a very good bowl to have. You have a team in UCF that's had that magical season. I mean, they haven't lost a game yet. I think that's enough motivation for Auburn to say, you know what, let's send these. I mean, this is a mid-major team. Let's be honest here. Let's send this team back to South Florida and shut them up here.
Right.
Take that I mean, the undefeated season's a big thing. Taking that away a little bit, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. All right, nice breakdown, everyone. Once again, Jim's on Auburn, minus 9.5. Big man on Auburn, strongly minus 9.5. And Drew's on UCF plus 10.5. I'm on the under 67.5 minus 107. Let's get to the last video we're going to cover in this game. It's the third bowl. The last game we're going to cover in this video. It's the third bowl on Monday. LSU and Notre Dame, another interesting one, right? Notre Dame kind of a Miami-esque in that they looked awesome for the first 2/3 of the season, dominant ATS, and then they lost their last 4 games in a row. ATS really tailed off from a betting perspective. Now they're catching some points against LSU, another team that maybe stayed a little bit under the radar as far as elite teams are concerned, but clearly an awesome team here. This is another one where I'm thinking I'm going to look at the total here. Let's start with you, big man on campus, Notre Dame, LSU. What's your take on this one?
I was considering, Peter, should I give my Ed Orgeron impression when I give the breakdown for this game? But I'll stay away from the impressions today. I don't want to take too long. I don't have a huge opinion. This is a game that out of all of them, it's one of the games that I have no real opinion on. I don't want to do this, but I'll give a pick out just to do it. Look, I think Notre Dame's had a good season. I think a better season than I thought they would have with that freshman quarterback. Run game's been good. Brian Kelly really needed a bounce back season. Defensively, they were pretty good, but I wasn't impressed with when they went into Miami. They really shit on their hat there. LSU's another interesting team. I mean, they're a team that you want to back at home a lot of the time on that Saturday night, getting points. But I don't know. I just don't have a big feel in this one. It's the one game that I really didn't want to talk about too much. I think the SEC will reign supreme over Notre Dame a bit here, but I'm not crazy about laying 3. This is a very lukewarm lean. I didn't do a ton of research. I'll lean LSU, but I kill.
Well, You can change it. You can listen to what Jimmy, Drew, and I have to say, and then tail to one of us you think has the best read on the game if you want to.
Yeah, Peter, I'll be honest. I'd rather just go down to Oxford and have chicken on a stick for a game, as opposed to
very nice. Not bad.
Why don't you come join us, Peter, down at Camping World Stadium for Notre Dame, LSU.
Nice.
Go Tigers.
All right, Big Man on Campus, list some impressions. Jimmy the Bag, Big Man on Campus is going to wait and see what we have to say about this one. I might give a pick on the total. Jimmy the Bag, it's another tough one, which most of these bowls are. What's your read on this game, Jim?
I'm on the LSU Tigers. Notre Dame's going to be without their second leading receiver, Abbotsford, BC's own Chase Claypool. And they're going to be out without third leading receiver, Kevin Stepherson, who finished the year with back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. Tight end Elise Mack will be out due to suspension. This is a team that doesn't have a receiver who caught more than 31 passes. I mean, to lose these guys, it's a big loss. Wimbush struggled through the air all year. 49.8% of his passes were completed. 16 TDs, 6 picks. I mean, he's very dangerous with his feet, and that offensive line is awesome. There's no getting around how good this Notre Dame offensive line is. But in saying all that, I like LSU here. Even with this defense missing 3 top linebackers, they're a very strong defensive squad. 16th in the nation, allowing just 18.8 points per game. In their last 2 games, they allowed just 93 yards rushing combined. Danny Etling, he's not flashy, he's not exciting, but he doesn't make mistakes. Threw for 2,234 yards, 14 TDs, just 2 picks. I like Darius Grice a lot. He can run the ball extremely well, 1,153 yards, 11 TDs, and he needed the break desperately. This break has helped a few teams so much, and this LSU team, it couldn't have helped them more. He's battling knee injuries. He's returned to practice this week. He's good to go. The Irish don't have that good of a rush defense. I think they're going to get they're going to be in a lot of trouble. They're going to have trouble running the ball, and they're going to have the ball stuffed down their throat. I like LSU here. I felt this was a pretty easy game to cap, to be honest with you. I didn't see too much trouble seeing that LSU was going to take care of business here.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, the line is headed up a little bit. It opened at 2. It's now up to a 3 market wide. On the Greek has the best line. LSU -3, -110. Drew Martin, Jimmy brought up some good points about there's a lot of questions surrounding Notre Dame's likely ability on offense here in light of all those injuries. And, they seem like a team that is going to steamroll, terrible defenses. I love them on the over to put up a bunch of points when they face Miami, Ohio. But when they're going up against strong defenses, they kind of can't do anything. Now they've got a bunch of injuries, and LSU clearly has a statistically better defense than Notre Dame for sure, and probably a good enough defense to hold these guys down. I'm thinking this one might resemble a little bit Notre Dame's game against Georgia. I'm leaning under here. What's your take on this one, Drew?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Big Man as far as I'm not confident in this game, but I mean, Jimmy does bring up some good points with LSU, and going, like, when I first from a glimpse view looked at this, I did kind of like the SEC West teams, but I'm actually going to end up going against it. I just look at the coaching angle here. Brian Kelly with extra time to prepare, I like a little bit more than Ed Orgeron. And BMOC, we need some more Ed Orgeron impressions, man. That's pretty awesome. So hopefully one more before we end this. And I'll tell you, Brian Kelly's bowl record isn't too impressive. I believe it's 5-4, but he had some really tough matchups there. If you remember back when he was with Cincinnati, he had to go up a Virginia Tech team that was a lot more talented than his team in the Orange Bowl. Also that national championship game against Alabama. I think those are just tough spots. So bowl game prep wise, I give the edge, a big time edge to Brian Kelly. Not to mention he won 2 Division I AA national championships before. So I think he should be able to get his team prepared. I know the injuries are scary, but as this line ticks up to now 3, if it's a close game, I'd much rather put that 3 in my pocket. So I lean with the Irish here, Pete. All
right, it is headed up. Best line right now is at Pinnacle, +3, +102. So Jimmy the Bag and Drew Martin, again, going head-to-head. Jimmy the Bag liking LSU here, -3. Drew Martin taking Notre Dame, +3, +102. And I will once again pass on the side completely. My pick on this game will be on the under 51.5 minus 107. Again, I completely agree with Jimmy that I think those the injuries on offense to Notre Dame are crucial, and Notre Dame, even with those guys in, was already questionable against quality defenses, and I think this game is more likely than not to resemble the Georgia game. So I'm going to take the under 50, which of course is very low scoring, 51.5 minus 107. That's my play on this one. Big man on campus. You've heard our breakdowns. You've heard our opinions. No consensus here. Jimmy the Bag and Drew Martin going head to head. I'm on the total. What are you going to do for an official pick here, big man?
I'm going to make this short and sweet, Peter. I'm going to go with Jimmy the Bag here. I'm going to agree with the kid from Canada. I've never been to Canada, but I plan to one day. Maybe Jimmy can show me around up there, me and my wife, once in a while. I'll bring him some chicken on a stick and some jambalaya. We do that down here in Creole country, baby. Go
Very
Tigers.
nice. Okay, LSU -3, minus 110 is going to be big man's pick, and I would say that I agree with that lean. If you gave me a free play on the side here, I probably would throw it on LSU over Notre Dame, just because of the the injuries on offense and the questionability of Notre Dame's ability to move the ball on elite defenses. And on that note, that wraps up this video. We will be doing in a separent video our coverage of the two college playoff games. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right, Jimmy the Bag. You wanted to add another play?
I meant to add this while we were doing it, and I apologize. I need to officially add the under in Wisconsin, Miami. I think that is a play. I like that just as much. Well, I like Wisconsin -6.5 a little bit better, but I like the under in that game very much, and just want to make sure that I add that officially. Thank you so much for holding off for that.
Sure. So you want both of those then?
Yes, I do.
All right, and on that note, that will wrap up this video. Again, we will be doing the biggest video of the bowl season. We're really going to have to step it up in a minute, guys, because this will be taped and released a little bit later. We're going to cover Georgia, Oklahoma, and Alabama, Clemson. Two tough games to handicap, but we're going to break them down. Watch for that video when it gets released. That wraps up this video. Let me just review all the picks that we've given on the 6 bowls that we covered in this video. Jimmy the Bag, Iowa State +3.5, Washington +3, Wisconsin -6.5, and the under 45 in that game. Michigan under 43, Auburn -9.5, and LSU -3. Big man on campus on the under 68.5 in the Memphis game. Penn State -2.5, Wisconsin -6.5, South Carolina +7.5, Auburn -9.5, and LSU -3. Drew Martin is on Iowa State +3.5. Penn State -2.5, Miami +6.5, going head-to-head with Jim and BMOC. Notre Dame +3, going head-to-head with Jim. Michigan under 43, and UCF +10.5, also a head-to-head pick there by Drew Martin. And I have taken Iowa State +3.5, the under 68.5 in the Iowa State game as well. The Miami game under 45, Penn State -2.5, the Auburn game under 67.5, the Notre Dame game under 51.5, and the Michigan game over 42, going head-to-head with Drew Martin and Jimmy the Bag on that one. Great videos, guys. Now we're going to get to the College Football Championship video. Watch for that when it gets released. Thanks so much once again, Drew Martin, big man on campus, and Jimmy the Bag.
Thank you.